Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all well. As you can probably tell, today's video is going to be another Halloween one. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this really cute tiny little witch's cauldron, which you could make into some very cute Halloween earrings or a pendant. So to make one of these, you're going to need some size 11 seed beads in black for the cauldron, and then some size 11 seed beads in whatever colour you want for the contents of the cauldron. So I'm going to be using this acidic kind of green, and then you'll also need a beading needle, beading thread, and I'm using 6 pound fire line. And I think that's everything, so let's get started. So we're going to begin with the cauldron part of this, and then we'll do the middle part after. First thing you need to do is to pick up 3 of your black beads and slide those down onto your thread, and you want to leave just a few inches, nothing major, on the other end. And then you're going to sew up through the first bead to bring them together like this. Now we're going to put 2 beads in between each of those, so pick up 2, go straight into the next one, pick up 2 and go straight through the next one, and pick up 2 more, and you're coming out here, you're going to go through that last one in that group of 3 and then step up into the bead above like that. That way you're already stepped up into the row above so that you can add the next row. So now you should have this. Okay, this time we're going to put 1 bead in between each of those groups of 2 and then 1 bead also right in the middle of those as well. Sorry if that's confusing, it will become clear. So picking up 1, coming out here, you're going to go straight down through the next bead. Okay, and then picking up your next one. This time you're coming out here, you're going to skip over that one underneath and go through the next one on the top row. So the beads that are on the top row are the 3 groups of 2 that we added in the row below. Picking up 1 and go through the next bead on the top row, which just happens to be this one right next to the one you're coming out of. Picking up 1 and going through the next one on the top row, so that means skipping over the one underneath and through that one. Picking up another, you're coming out of here, you're going to go straight down through that one next to you. And your last one for this row, you're coming out of here, you're going to skip the one underneath, go through the next one, and then because it's the last one in the row, you're going to step up into the one above. There should be one diagonally above, like that. And now you should have this. So this time we're going to put 2 beads in between each of those single beads we added in the row below, so you're doing 6 groups of 2. So pick up your first 2, skip over one and go through that next one on the top row. Picking up your next 2, coming out here, you're going to skip over one, go through the next one on the top row. Picking up 2, coming out here, you're going to skip over one, go through the next one on the top row. And now you're going to do that 3 more times. Remembering when you get to your last one, do the same again, so skip over one, go through the next one, but always step up into the bead above as well. Okay, now we have this cute little circle. So for this row, we've got those 6 groups of 2 that we added in that row below. You're you're going to be putting a bead right in the centre of those, and then in these spaces that separate them as well. So you're going to be adding 12 beads in total. So picking up your first one, going straight down into that bead next to the one you're coming out of. So essentially you're picking up a bead, and each time you're going through the next one on the top row, and that's going to alternate between, like here you're going to skip over one and go through the next one, then when you get to here you're going to go straight down through the one next to it. So picking up your next single bead, you're going to, like I said, you're coming out here, so you're going to skip that one and go through that next bead which is on the very top row. Now you're between a group of two, so you're going to pick up one and go straight down through the one next to it. So that's going to alternate all the way around like that. So again, picking up your next one, skip over one and go through the next one. And keep count, remember you're adding 12 beads, just so you don't get confused. Picking up your next one, coming out here, so you're going to go straight down through the one next to it. And picking up your next one, skip over one and go through the next bead. Okay, now we're between one of those groups of two again, so you're coming out of this one, you're going to go straight down through the one next to it. Picking up one, skipping over one, going through the next one. Picking up one and going straight down through the next one. So it's the same all the way around if you want to speed ahead and carry on. This time skipping over one and through the next one. Now we're between one of those groups of two, so you're going to go straight down through the bead next to it. Make sure that slots into place. It's going to feel a little bit tight on this round, like they're not going to fit, but it will all even out when we do the next few rows. So we're on the last bead here. So we're coming out of here. I'm going to skip the one underneath, go through the next one and the one above, so that we've stepped up and we're ready to carry on adding beads. Pull that nice and tight, and it might be a little bit like out of shape and a bit, you know, wavy like this. Don't worry about it, we'll fix it all in the next few steps. Okay, so for the next row, and this is going to be the same now for the next 6 rows, so if you get the hang of it and you want to skip ahead, then you're going to be doing the same next thing for 6 rows, so you can do that if you're familiar with peyote stitch and you want to rush ahead. So what we're going to be doing is just like regular peyote. So from now on, you're coming out of a bead, you're going to pick up one each time, just one, skip over the one underneath and go through the next one on the top row. Pick up one, skip over one, go through the next one on the top row, and you're going to do that all the way around each time, remembering to step up, and you're going to do that for 6 rows. So I'm going to show you the first row and then show you how to step up again, and then I'll zoom ahead and show you what it looks like after you've done the 5 rows after that. Each time you're going to be adding 12 beads in a row. So a trick I found, if you are using like all the same colour like this, and it can get a bit confusing and you kind of lose track of where you are sometimes, especially if you have to stop and do something else and then come back. What you can do is, from your pile of beads, count out however many's in the row. So you'd count out 12 beads and then you'd just pick up from that second pile that you made, so you know that when you've used all 12 of those, that was the last bead, and then you can step up. So especially if you're a beginner, that's really helpful, so you don't lose track of where you are, and so you also know when it's time to step up. Okay, so picking up one, skip over that one underneath and go through this next one on the top row, and now it's a little bit easier to see which beads are on the top row because it's the 12 that sit up highest on the outside edge. So picking up your next one, skip over the next one and go through the one on the top row. You don't need to pull it really tight until you get to the end of the row. You can pull it like, you know, normal, but picking up your next one, skip over one underneath, go through the next one on the top row or outer row. Picking up your next one, skip over one and through the next. Picking up one, skipping over one, going through the next one. Picking up one, skipping over one, going through the next one. So do that until you've used all 12 beads for this row. So I'm adding the 12th bead. So I'm doing the same thing as always. So I'm coming out of here, I'm skipping over one, going through the next one, and then stepping up into this one above. So that one we've stepped up into was the first one we added in this row. So we have this, and then you're going to pull it really nice and tight. So now you need to do 5 more rows exactly the same as that. I'm going to show you after each row now what it's going to look like. So go ahead and add the next row. Okay, so I've added another row and it looks like this. It's just ever so slightly starting to curve up a bit when you pull it tight. So there's now 4 more rows to go. So I'm going to add another row, show you what it looks like after that. Okay, so I've added that row, so this is what it looks like now. It's starting to curve up even more. So now I'm going to add another row and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so that's what it looks like after that row. So there's 2 more rows to go. Make sure you keep pulling your tail thread tight as well so the bottom doesn't start to unravel. So go ahead and add another row. So this is what mine's looking like after that row. So I've got 1 more row to go. So go ahead and add your final row and then I'll meet you back and show you what to do next. Okay, so this is what mine looks like once I've added all of those rows. So now we need to put this aside for now and we're going to work on the middle part. So you can take this off of your needle. So first thing you're going to do is pick up 4 of your second colour and slide those down, and then I'm going to sew through the first bead. So we have this. Now you're going to put 1 bead in between each of those. So pick up 1, go through the next one, pick up 1, go through the next one, and do that 2 more times. And on the last one you go through the next one and also up into the one above as well. So you're now coming out of one of these beads on the point or on the corner. Okay, this time picking up 2 beads each time. So pick up 2, skip over 1, go through 1, the next one, pick up 2, skip over 1, go through the next one, picking up 2, skipping over 1, go through the next one, and picking up the last 2 of the row, skipping over 1, going through the next 2. So you're going through the next one like always and then you're stepping up into the one above. Okay, now we have this and you're coming out here. Now you need to move your needle, don't pick up a bead, just go through the next one like that. So you should be coming out here. This time we're putting 1 bead between those groups of 2. So pick up 1, skip over 1 and then go through the next 2 beads like that. Picking up 1, skip over 1 and go through the next 2. I'm going to do that 2 more times. Picking up 1, skipping over 1, through the next 2. Picking up 1, skipping over 1, through the next 2, and because that's the last one of the row, up into that one after it as well. Pull nice and tight, and when you pull it nice and tight, encourage it to sort of curve up as well. So now you have this. So now we're adding groups of 2 again, and we're going through these single corner beads. So picking up 2, skip over 2, go through the next single bead on the corner. Picking up 2, skipping over 2, going through the next single bead. picking up 2, skipping over 2 through the next single bead, picking up 2, skipping over 2, going through the next single bead, and then up through the 2 after it as well. So you're going through the last one as always, and then step up through the 2 after that. So if you can hear the ice cream van in the background. I don't know what's going on, it's so cold. I don't know who's eating ice cream out there. Okay. So why does it look like a pea? This is actually the perfect colour for a pea. Okay, so now we're going to be putting 1 single bead in between those groups of 2. So picking up 1, skipping over 1, and going through the next 2 beads. Picking up 1, skipping over 1, and going through the next 2. Do that 2 more times. Pick up 1, skip over 1, go through the next 2. Pick up 1, skip over 1, go through the next 2. And then up, step up into the next single bead after that. So we have this, and we're going to add 1 more row of these groups of 2s, again going through the 4 single corner beads. So picking up 2, skipping over 2, going through the next single bead on the corner, and do that 3 more times. So on the last one you go through the next single bead as always, and then step up into the 2 above. So now we have this. So now we're going to start to close it together, so picking up 1, same as before really, skipping over 1 and going through the next 2 beads. Picking up 1, skipping over 1 and going through the next 2 beads. And you're going to do that 2 more times. And on the last one as always, so you go through those last 2 beads and then you step up into that single bead above. So you're going through the next 3 beads essentially. Now you have this, now you're going to pick up 1 bead this time, skipping over 2 and going through that next single bead on the corner. Picking up 1, skip over 2, go through the next single bead. Pick up 1, skip over 2 and through the next one. And final one, pick up 1, skip over 2, go through the next one, and up into the one above. Pull that nice and tight. So you have this, and now you need to go through all 4 of those last 4 beads that you just added. Just go through those 4 without picking up any more beads. That just brings them together like that. So once you've done that, then you need to take your needle off of your working thread and thread it onto your little short tail thread, and then we're going to tie this off and cut it off. So to do that, I'll just take my needle underneath the thread that connects the bead that I'm coming out of to the one next to it. You see this thread here that connects them. I'm going to take my needle under that thread like that and pull that through until you have a loop. Then go through the loop twice before you pull it down until it tightens. So there's the knot. Now always move away from your knot before you cut your thread so that it doesn't unravel. You can tie some more knots if you want, and then go ahead and cut this thread off, and then you can thread your needle back onto your working thread. So my needle's back on my working thread. Now you're going to take your cauldron, and if you hold it up, you'll be able to see, if you turn it over, where your tail thread is coming out of. There should be a group of 3 beads where we first started. So from the other side, you want to take your needle through the centre. If you can see that, but I'm going through the centre of those 3 original beads. It'll probably be easier to see on your piece because the black beads are very shiny. It's hard to really see. So my needle's going right through the middle, so pull it all the way through till your little pea sits, till it sits in the middle like that, and then we're holding it nice and tight. Hold your tail thread from your cauldron as well. So then you're going to attach it to the bottom. Now it doesn't matter which beads you go through, just make sure it's one of the beads right where your thread's coming out of. So I'm going to go through one of these original beads and just sew through a few beads like this. And then what I'm going to do is just tie some knots and cut this working thread off, because we're done with that now. Okay, so I've done that, and then I'm also going to take the tail thread of the actual cauldron, this one that's at the bottom. I'm going to thread my needle onto that, and then I'm going to tie some knots and also cut that off, just so it's out of the way and we don't have to do it later. Okay, so I've tied off that thread as well, and now I'm going to thread my needle back onto my working thread from my cauldron. So now we're going to decrease our row from 12 beads on this cauldron down to 6. So we're going to do that by picking up 1, back on the black beads now, and you're going to go through the next 2 in the top row. So you're skipping over 1, going through the next one, and then without picking up another bead, you skip over another one and go through the next one. So it looks like this. So you're coming out of this one, picking up a bead and going through the next 2 on the top row. So then pick up your next one. So you're going to do this 6 times if you want to speed ahead. And do the same thing again. So you're coming out here, skip over 1, go through the next one, skip over 1, through the next one. So through these next 2 on the top row, like that. And again, pick up 1 and go through the next 2 on the top row. Picking up 1, going through the next 2 on the top row. Like I said, you do that until you've added 6 beads. So I'm just adding the last one, so same as before, I'm going through the next 2, but also stepping up into the bead above because it's the last one in the row. So we always step up, and then you're going to pull it nice and tight. So now you have this. So now if you want to add the little handle like this, what you're going to do is, so you're coming out of one of these 6 beads that are going to sit up higher than the rest. You need to move down through 1 bead like that. So you're now coming out of one of these little groups of 2 that are joined together here by the thread. So you should be able to see this little thread that connects these 2 beads. You're going to pick up 1 bead, and then you're going to take your needle under that thread. So I don't know if you can see that, but my needle is underneath that thread. Pull that down like that, and then sew up, back up through that bead we just added. So that it sits like that, nice and flat. Now we're going to move down into this bead next to it, so that you're back on the top row, and you're going to move around halfway round. So I'm going to move around to here and do exactly the same thing again under this thread that I can see right here. So go ahead and move around to opposite there and add another bead in exactly the same way. Okay, so I've added a bead on both sides now. So now you can create the little looper bead, so it's up to you how big you want your little handle to be. I'm going to do it the same as this one. So I'm going to pick up 11 beads, and I'm coming out the bead I added on this side, and I'm just going to go down through the one that I added on the other side. So we have this. We're coming out here now. I want to get back up into that bead, to go back the other direction. So I'm coming out of here, I'm just going to go down through, there's a bead like right directly underneath it. I'm going to go into that bead and then back up into that one that the handle is connected to. Now I can go through all of those again. That's just going to strengthen it a little bit and make it sit up a little bit better, like that. Now you can do that again and again as many times as you want to make it really secure. And then if you want to add the little feet at the bottom, you need to move down the side of your piece. Just follow the path that the beads have taken. So I move down diagonally, like across and down one bead at a time, until I get to the bottom. So here's the bottom. So I just move to sort of where I want my first little foot to sit, so close to the edge, just in a little bit. It doesn't matter exactly where you do it, because it's going to be really hard to show you the exact bead that I'm going through. So just find a good position where you think it's going to look good. So on the bottom, just in a little way from the edge, and then picking up 2 beads. Just going to go back into the bead that I've decided I'm coming out of on the opposite side. Then back up into the first bead in that group of 2. Back down through the second one and back into the bead again on the bottom. So that's how I added my little feet for the cauldron. So now all you need to do is move your thread to the other side of the bottom and find a place that looks like it's about opposite and equal, and add another one in the same way. And then once you've done that, you can tie off your threads and you're all finished. So once you've done that, then that's the finished cauldron. So this is what it looks like. Very cute. And for this one, I did like a mixture, a bit like my pom-pom here that my mum made for me. Green, orange, purple, Halloweeny colours. And I think this one actually looks more like a cauldron with this like bright green. I think I'm going to turn these into like mismatched Halloween earrings. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you're able to make one of these. These are so tiny, so cute. So stay tuned for my next video because I've got a really fun one coming up. So I've been making tiny little 3D hollow potion bottles to fit with the Halloween theme. A few different shapes. So coming up soon on Instagram, I'm going to do, on my stories, I'm going to do a vote so people can decide which shape they want to see a tutorial for most, because I don't think I'll have time to do all 3 different shapes. So follow me on Instagram to see that and take part in that, or comment down below here if you can't use Instagram for any reason. Comment down below here which shape you prefer. So this one, the pink one, green one, or purple one. So that's a fun one. That's going to be my next video. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss this one. Thanks so much also for 12,000 subscribers. That's incredible. I can't believe it. So thank you so much everyone for watching and sharing my videos. It means so much. And yeah, I forgot what I was saying. So all the usual: comment, subscribe, like, follow. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.